Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very well. Now, at the time of this particular recording, it is Friday morning. Now, long-standing viewers and pretty much everyone that knows me knows that a Friday, for me, Kilt-Man, is a Freedom Friday. Yeah, that's when I party on and don't give two hoots about the rest of the world and what the rest of the world thinks of me. And I implore you all to take the same sort of message and ideology and enjoy yourselves. Just be yourselves. Don't be dictated to. Just don't hurt anyone in the process. Just kind of something that's going to be mentioned here. Now, for me, pretty much every day is a Friday. So I just use Friday as a great, because I can put the word freedom in front of me. Freedom Friday! Oh yeah! And I live long and prosper and party, revelry, merriment, all of it, chaos, abandonment. I love it. I loves it, I does. And I'll be doing exactly the same. This weekend, we've got Liverpool, my cherished Liverpool FC, will be in the fight of their lives against Real Madrid in Paris to win the Champions League, which they will do, of course, we know that. So there's some good stuff there. Now, as I've said so often, I wake up to messages from people, friends around the world. Have you heard this? Have you seen this? And news breaks all the time of stuff. And that's kind of what I want to address right now. Once again, we've had two deaths, celebrity deaths. I cover these a lot. If it's someone that means a lot to me, and that isn't to denigrate people that, you know, that die, celebrities that die, sports people that die, and I don't ever talk about those. That's all the channel would become. We lost two great luminaries. Andy Fletcher, one of the founding members, Fletch from Depeche Mode, a band that I grew up with, a band I've never actually seen live, although I had opportunities to do so, but I never actually saw them. And he was one of the founding members, Martin Gore and everybody else. But he died at the age of 60. 60? I'm 53 next month. He died at the age of 60. And at the moment, at the time of this recording, they haven't said what he died of. And it's a terrible loss. I would be playing music from Depeche Mode, but given what happened when I did a big tribute to Vangelis and I played Vangelis's music, it got blocked. So I won't. We'll come on to this music in a few moments. But we also lost the great, wonderful character actor, Ray Liotta, or as my daughter always thought, and many of your kids always thought when you mentioned him, Ray the Otter? Is he some kind of Disney character? Ray Liotta, Goodfellas, No Escape, you know, Narc, oh my God, so many other movies as well. He died at the age of, I wrote this down, 67 he died at the age. And he was filming, I believe, in the Dominican Republic. He was actually filming something at the time, but he died in his sleep. He passed away in his sleep. Again, they haven't released details at the time of this recording as to what he died of. But one would presume, well, maybe a heart attack. Maybe there was some other condition. I really don't know. But it is, again, a terrible loss. Andy Fletcher, to the world of music. So inspirational, so a genuinely inspirational guy. A great laugh, by all accounts. Loved a pint or two. But it's funny, I've been talking to a friend of mine, my Mexican babe, who lives in Texas. We're going to come on to Texas in a minute. So like, how is it all the rock stars of her dad's generation are still living? All the ones of her generation, she's younger than me, are dropping like flies. And it is true, it is weird. What happens to these people? You have this tendency to believe that the aging rock stars, it's drink and drugs and that's going to kill them quick, and, you know, live fast, die hard, you know, party on forever in Nirvana or Valhalla, depending on your viewpoint. And it does seem to be the case. I can't understand it. But we were discussing this, and it is a definitely tragic sort of turn of events, and a shock. It's always a shocker. But this is what I want to come on to. We've had, again, Imelda, darling, you live in Texas. San Antonio, is it? I always get this wrong. It's the one state I've not been to in America. There's a couple of others, but I do fully intend to visit Texas. And your good self, we've got to go to a roadhouse. The Kilt-Man's got to strut into a roadhouse. It's got to happen. It has got to happen. And I'll be pure Swayze going in there, you know. But I fully expect drinks to be bought for me, you know. This fucking guy's got a fucking skirt on. Jesus Christ. Get him whatever he wants. Anyway, Texas also bore witness to yet another mass shooting. Another horrible mass shooting. What's the town? Uvalde, 19 kids between the ages of 6 and 12, and 2 teachers gunned down by another maniac with a grudge on his shoulder, teenager with a grudge on his shoulder and a cache of assault weapons. He was shot dead, thankfully. Although many people always say, no, you want to capture them alive, you've got to study them, you've got to work out why they do what they do. Look, I don't have any answers to that. I'm as heartbroken as everybody. I was a gun owner in the UK, but we had our own horrible mass shootings. After Hungerford, Michael Ryan went on the rampage, the Rambo killer, killing dozens in the Cotswolds and the countryside. We surrendered certain weapons. We were responsible gun owners, members of gun clubs. I've discussed all this before, so I'm not going to rake over all that. But we held on to some of our rights because we're the most respected people in society. The ones who've got guns usually are the ones who are so protective of society, and they're upstanding citizens. They are judges. They are, high-ranking civil servants. They're people that have got a long-standing tradition. And I was brought up into that tradition. Hunting, which I turn my back on, of course. I've discussed this all before. I don't hunt. Hunt with a camera. Don't hunt with a weapon. Unless you have to eat every bit and use every bit of the body of the thing that you've killed, and then pay homage to it and pray for its afterlife. That's what you should do. Otherwise, hunting, no, not into it. And you trophy bastards who are out there, and I've binned a few of you off, and you know who you are. If you're still watching, you know what I feel about you. I absolutely despise and abhor you. And if I ever met you, well, you'd be a trophy on my wall, wouldn't you? Only I wouldn't show it off because there'd be shit all over it. I hate you with a vengeance. And anyway, so there's that. But I grew up with guns and that, and then Hungerford happened, but then Dunblane happened, and that was in Scotland, ancestral home, and of course, kids were killed there. That was it. There's no need for a civilian to have a weapon. You might be the most respectable person, the most responsible person, but someone else who gets into your house could get that weapon and go on a rampage, and it'll be down to you. I know you didn't commit it, but it's down to you. Get rid of them. Unless you're going into armed combat, which of course I've also done. Unless you're going in to fight an enemy for whatever reasons, political, geographical, strategic, who knows, doing your duty. There's no reason to have weaponry. Unless, of course, you collect knives and swords. Which I do, as you know. So, woe betide anyone that gets in here. You won't be getting out in one piece. Literally. So, another mass shooting. I'm not going to go into the politics and the gun lobby and all of that. Again, like the obituaries, we'd be here forever and a day discussing it all. I don't pretend to understand the inconsistency with all of this, the law, the judiciary, and the morality of all of this, with the right to bear arms or the right to arm bears, whatever you want to do, But it's in your constitutional rights, and there's a good reason for it. It's predominantly because if a government begins to be tyrannical and oppressive, you have the right to bear arms against it. That's why it's there. It's to protect the civilian life, civilian population against a tyrannical government. That's it. Really not sure how you're going to get around that. Different states have different laws, different ideas about the whole thing. But I think at some point, general consensus is going to have to dictate that an 18, 19, whatever, doesn't matter what age, how can you go into a store and buy, like a Walmart, and go and buy weapons? In this country, you can't even go and buy a penknife. Anyway, look, doom and gloom, this is the point of this video. You turn on the news, or the news just comes on. You don't turn it on, do you? The news just comes on. You've got to be something wrong with you if you sit and watch the news, because it's relentless doom and gloom. Otherwise, it doesn't make the headlines. I was literally laughing my little tartan bollocks off the other day, because it was the cost of living, energy crisis, war in Ukraine. No funny matter, of course, I know. But the way that it's delivered in the UK, Partygate, are lying bastard, charlatan scoundrels of our government, who I hate, absolutely despise, and yet stupidly this idiot works for them. The fuck am I thinking? Why can't I stand up and just go like, fuck you? Take it all back. You haven't given me a pay rise in fucking decades, you bastards. And I've worked for you. And look at the way you treat us. I could get angry. I almost did. Hate them. Wish I had the courage of my convictions to just sack it off. But I've got nowhere to go. I've only got this. Beyond it. Or stripping again, always got that to fall back on. But I'm getting old now. Anyway. So, you've got Partygate and their consistent lies and deceit and laughing in the face of the British population. So you get that on the news. It's relentless bad news. More pandemics, more viruses. Oh, COVID and Omicron, whatever the hell that was. Now you've got monkeypox. Oh yes, it's Planet of the Apes all over again. It's just, there's always got to be something bad. And then at the end of the news, now it's probably the same worldwide when they broadcast the news. There's like, and finally, and it's a little light moment. And during this particular half hour, actually it was on for an hour, news broadcast, it was like, ABBA are finally returning to the stage. ABBA in the form of 3D holograms. And this, albeit interesting and uplifting bit of news, it was relegated to 30 seconds worth of footage. And that was it, of news casting. 30 seconds. You're like, Jesus Christ. By the way, I'm noticing what you probably noticed as well. This dark patch here. And it's not a spot, it's not a boil, it's not a bite, a spider bite. It's just where some of the hairs of this scratchy tash have sort of met and conjoined and formed their own little darker element. I don't know. I could term it as a beauty spot. But I won't. So what I'm saying is, if you want bad news, if you want doom and gloom, watch the news. That's all you're going to get. If you want a better life, you want to feel better about what's happening, about where you are in life, just your day-to-day grind and going out and partying. If you want to feel good about that, don't watch the news. The news is just, it's an intravenous drip of failure, deceit, lies, disaster, death, destruction. Well, if you want that, fine. I only want that in movies where it's escapism, and there's usually some guy, somebody, so could be a girl, who is going to fight the good fight, and you live by proxy as the survivor, the hero, and you win the day. That's how I view things. So it's a Freedom Friday, folks, and I want you to be uplifted. I want you to be happier than what the news will dictate that you should feel. I have no answers, but the likes of Andy Fletcher, Ray Liotta, and I just did coverage of the sad death of Fred Ward, one of my favourite actors, and of course Vangelis. And there was Dennis Waterman, English actor, Minder, the Sweeney, great. And he sadly died as well. Now, what we've got to say is, sadly died. When people die of natural causes, is that really sad? It's sad for us who are left behind. We miss them, we miss their company. But for them, and I firmly believe this, I do not believe in God, Almighty God. I believe in many gods. But I do believe that, and I hate to use the word soul because it falls back on Christianity and religion, which I'm not like that. I don't believe in any of this. But I do believe that what makes you think, what makes you tick, what makes your thoughts become reality, what makes you speak, your ideology, your personal feelings and emotions, that's you. All this outside stuff, which in some cases is quite catastrophic. I'm just looking at myself here, which beyond this little weirdness, we'll just look, can be quite, not really what you want to see when you wake up in the morning. Just ask my wife. Anyway, I firmly believe that what's inside you, you want to call it the soul, you want to call it your spirit, you want to call it your core, your center, your id, whatever. That, your body dies, your organs pack up. That's going to happen. That's the natural order of things. When that happens, whatever is inside you will go on, whether it bleeds into the existing energy of the universe. But I believe that you will go on. I don't know what form it takes, but I know and I believe that all these people I just mentioned, Andy Fletcher, Ray Liotta, Fred Ward, Van Gallis, Dennis Waterman, and so many others are a lot happier where they are now than they were here. And if you don't believe that, then you really are clinging to the newscast of doom and gloom. You've got to believe that you can make the best of this life in the hopes that what comes afterwards, because something does. There's no way it's just lights out. Absolutely no way. You really, hand on heart, believe that once that your last gasp for breath goes and then it's gone, the light fades. Really? You believe? And it's nothing, just erosion and decay. Really? You believe that? I feel very sorry for you if that's the case. And if you have to have God and heavens and pearly gates, if you have to have that, then fine. That sounds great. I don't believe that that's the thing, but I think that sounds like definitely better than what we've got right now. But the point is, what you've got right now, you've got to make the most of. Start by ignoring the news. People, this is something else I wanted to say. I've just remembered now. I've still got a full day's work ahead of me before party time begins. Damn. For that cursed government. What was it? What was my point? Oh, I always do this. I always go off on tangents and then forget my point. People are saying all the time that things are getting worse. They're worse. We've got war in Ukraine. We've got pandemics. We've got mass shootings. People are dying. Oh, the cost of living. It's all oppression. Things haven't got worse. Things have remained exactly the same as they always have been. Mankind is a blight upon this planet. We know because all the stuff we've done to nature and the natural ecology of the world, we've destroyed it, we've wiped out species and done all sorts of untold horrors. But we've always done that. Going back through all the ages, relentless wars, relentless genocide, relentless ethnic cleansing, massacres across Europe, across Africa, tribal, inter-village hostilities, rapes, murders, slavery. These things have always gone. And plagues, we've had plagues since man began. There's been plagues and diseases and viruses. None of this is new. None. I can't explain the madness of one shooter mass shootings. I can't understand that. I can't. But you have people being murdered all the time, and you always have had that. It is unbelievably tragic and horrific. But people who are saying that all this, it's coming to a head, it's something is happening. The reason why you know all of these things is because of, this. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, mass media, social media. We're aware of everything as soon as it happens, and there's footage of it straight away. You go back 100 years, all this sort of stuff was happening all the time, all the way around the world. But you never knew about it until someone heard hearsay from another country and then reported it back to another country and then reported it back, and then some correspondent would write it in the London Times like several weeks, maybe months later than the event took place. It's been massively clouded and changed ever since. Chinese whispers. So you've always had this, always. Knife crime in the UK. Oh, it is. It's frigging horrible. Especially the ages of the people who are committing the crimes and the people who are being killed. Of course it's horrific. Of course it is. But I can tell you something else. When I was growing up, in the 70s and the 80s, people were getting beaten up on the streets all the time. All the time. You'd know them. Oh God, so-and-so was kicked to bits on Friday night after coming out the pub. A gang jumped him. You don't get that anymore. That is something that you don't get. And maybe in certain places you might do, but I know that around here that does not happen and hasn't happened for decades now. So, but there's still knife crime and there's still horrible things. But these things have happened all the time. We're not heading towards a cataclysm. We're not heading towards, the gods. Oh, that's it. I've had enough of this. Purge the earth. It's not happening. This has always been the case, but we now have it so horribly reported on, so vividly, so quickly, and it's on our feed. You can't escape it unless you try to. Don't look at it. Just don't watch the news. Unless you really want to bring your day down, do not watch the news. And don't listen to these bastards, these politicians. They are all bastards. They start off altruistic. I'm going to do this for the common man. I'm going to lower taxes. I'm going to create jobs. And that's how they get in. But once they get in, I don't know what happens there, but suddenly all those altruistic ideas are extinguished and they just become part of the corporate mass with backhanders and making money for themselves and breaking the laws that they set for the rest of us to follow. You know it. You know it. Stop voting for them. The ones who really mean what they say never really get very far. You notice that? The politicians that really stick to their guns don't actually ever achieve high office. Because they don't want that. They don't want that. They don't want any kind of freedoms for us. They want to keep us persecuted and downtrodden all the time. Anyway, got to change this. The whole point of this was to address what's going on and to try to coerce everybody to look differently at it or look away from it. You're not going to stop what happens. All the mass morality wrangling that we have in the wake of terrible, terrible events sadly doesn't seem to change things. Something has to happen in America on the gun laws. Something has to happen. Biden's saying it's got to happen now, but we've got to oppose the gun lobby. Funny enough, I sounded like Ronald Reagan then, who was a massive, gun lobbyist. Of course. Look what I just found. It's breakfast whiskey. Anyway, on a lighter note, there is so much more to look forward to. Movies! Thor. I've been banging on about Thor, Love and Thunder for ages. And Mjolnir is right behind me there. We're playing his best theme ever. This is Brian Tyler's awesome score for Thor, The Dark World. The film everyone seems to love to hate. And I've always when I talk about Thor movies and Marvel movies, I always go, and Thor, Dark World. Do you know what? I've watched it twice this week because I'm so excited about Thor, Love and Thunder. And I fucking love it. I never did love it. It's got elements which I don't care for, but it's got so much that I do. So much, in fact, that you've got that review. The big kilted review of Thor, The Dark World will be coming hopefully later on today, probably tomorrow morning, knowing me. And I love it. I'm not going to go on too much about it now, but if you want something uplifting, let's fade out from this. The Brian Tyler's epic main theme for Thor, The Dark World. And it becomes a fanfare for Thor. You try saying that. A fanfare for Thor. It is the best. It's one of the best main themes in the Marvel canon. And you've got that chanting choir in the background. You know, chanting some form of Asgardian war mantra. And if anything, I'm optimistic. I've had a couple of health scares lately. But we're alright. We're alright. And before any of you say, well, that'll be all the whiskey you drink. It isn't. I don't think it helps, but anyway. Bravo. But I am going to start building up again. I used to be huge. I used to be massive. You look at Hemsworth, I was bigger than that. Well, I was bigger. I wouldn't say it was as defined as that, but I didn't have access to the roids that he has, the Hollywood roids. But I'm going to start massively building up to get to Thor-esque proportions again, or at least look as near as damn it, you know? Because age means nothing, folks. And you can always, always have aspirations, goals in mind and work towards them. If you want to be a millionaire, then work towards it. Become a Tory politician. You want to better yourself physically, work towards it. It's easy, but you do it in increments. You have steps to take and you follow those. It's all good stuff, isn't it? It's all powerful, emotive stuff. So there's ways and means of making your world better for you. And if you make it better for you without harming anyone else, there's something miraculous will happen there. If you walk around with a smile on your face, if you feel happy with your lot, or happier with your lot, like hate and hostility, happiness and joy is infectious too. Let's start a pandemic of just joy. Is that really hard to do? Or are we so browbeaten by bad news and woe? Are we? You want to change the world, start by changing yourself and your own outlook on what's happening. You can't change war in Ukraine. You can't change that. You might not be able to stop the next pandemic that comes whistling around the world. And we've always had those, by the way. It's just, again, the media, the propaganda behind it all. We're sheep. We're sheep. Stop being sheep. Or at least, if you've got to be part of the flock, you know, be the happiest one there. And you'll find that'll bleed out into the rest of the flock. And we'll all be happier. So I long for the day when we all walk around with smiles on our faces. And not, you know, assault weapons strapped to our backs. And live feed cameras on our heads. You know? Folks, I have been, and I always shall be, Kilt-Man. I always shall have an alternative view about what the world should be. Feel free to, you know, lambast, ridicule. It is, the forum is yours. But I believe that you can change things by changing yourselves first and foremost. And then you'll find it will bleed out and more will be happier. Anyway, there you go. It's Friday. I urge you all, no matter where in the world you are, and I know people watching this are all over the world, which is wonderful, wonderful stuff. And long may it continue. Let's reach out into other realms, the rest of the 9 realms. Let's do it. But please, just be happy. Go out today, have fun. Forget about all the crap that's happening, and you go out and have fun. You'll find that when you go to your local tavern, your local bar, your local pub, that you'll have people who are moaning and groaning. You've always got that. But you'll find, and I go out all the time, and there are those pockets of moaners and groaners and whingers and whiners. You've got that. And I've sat with him a few times as well and joined in. But I very quickly move on to the happy-go-lucky crowd, and just then it's laugh, revelry, merriment. And why the hell not? If we've only got a limited amount of time in this particular realm of existence, make the most of it. You know. I'm going to grab some more of this, and then I'm going to start working for the man. One day, I'll have a proper podium with which to sort of, put forward such great ideas, and mostly discuss movies and movie music and drink whiskey and have everyone laughing, hopefully, because laughter is the antidote to pretty much everything. Folks, please keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic. Enjoy your Freedom Friday. Don't get washed out and defeated by all the doom and gloom that the mass media and whoever's in charge is just flooding you with. Because they are doing it, and they're making everybody, oh God, no. So that any little chip that they give you, any little nugget, you think, oh, thank you. No, you're worth more than that. And they know it. The reason why they do this is because they're scared of the power that you have, the power that we all have. They're terrified of that. They don't want you knowing that you've got that kind of power. There you go. Right, I've got to go to work. I'm going to see you all. Wow, whoa, yes. Namaste. Leaders. Boris Johnson, I shit on you, you lying, deceitful bastard.